Hey, it's Tammy with Second Shift. I wanted to just kind of get casual and get on my soapbox and make an appeal to y'all today. It's November, and November is National Adoption Month. It's also Homeless Youth Awareness Month. So, with that in mind, I wanted to discuss adopting teenagers. Now, over the past 3 years or so, I've worked as a therapist for adolescents in residential care. And I got to know a lot of teenagers in the foster care system. Now, I want you to know more about these teenagers in the foster care system, in congregate care. It's a world that most of us aren't aware of, and I wasn't aware of it very well until I worked in it and got to know the kids who grow up in congregate care and foster care. I can't tell you about any individual child. They have confidentiality, and ethically I can't talk about specifics for any one child, but I want to tell you what they were all like generally and what they all had in common. I want you to know them as well as I'm able to share. So let's first look at some adoption numbers. Just in Alabama alone, in the year 2015, there were 512 kids total were adopted from foster care. Out of those 512, there were 226 who were under 5, so they were toddlers. There were 228 who were 5 through 13, so school age, elementary school age. Then there were 58 who were 14 and older. So that's 11% of the total of 512 who were adopted. So out of those 58, 36 of those were 16 and older. So that's 7%. So out of 512 kids adopted that year, 7% were older teens. So I think we can conclude that older teens are not as likely to get adopted as toddlers or elementary school age children. Okay, so with that in mind, understand that these kids, they know those facts, and that makes them feel unwanted. I can't tell you how often I sat in my office with a child who said, "I just want somebody to want me, Miss Tammy. I just want to live in a family. I just want to be a normal kid. I just want to go to school at a public school." You may not be aware, but in residential facilities, very often, sometimes the kids don't go to public school. They go to school at the facility with the other residents of the facility. So just going to school was not something that they were able to do. Having a family, having people that they knew were on their side is something that they missed. And they all knew that. As teenagers, they were aware of what was missing. Some of the things they had in common were that they all just wanted somebody to want them. They all had this pervasive belief that because of where they were unwanted. And it was through no fault of their own that they were in foster care, but they all felt responsible too. And so they carried that responsibility and that feeling of rejection and abandonment all the time. They all just wanted to be normal kids. They're all valuable. There was not one of them that I ever met that was not lovable. They all have great contributions. I knew athletes and artists and writers. I knew a couple of really talented rappers. There were some great leaders, some really promising business people. These were great kids, and they had a lot to offer. And I very often sat in my office and thought, if I could only tell the world how amazing these kids are, how strong they are, and resilient, and how they've survived so much that I'm not sure I could survive, but they had this inner strength to just keep going no matter what happened. And I just wanted to tell the world about them. I just knew if I could tell people that there would be people who would foster them, who would adopt them, who would mentor them, who would step into their lives, because if anybody knew how terrific these kids were, they wouldn't be there. So I want you to know, I want to take this time to tell you that, at least I know here in Alabama, there are terrific kids, there are amazing kids, and there are kids all over that are just wanting somebody to want them. And you know, if we could adopt these kids and keep them from being homeless and connect with them, we could change their future. That's what Second Shift is trying to do. So, help us to help them. Click on the donate button, subscribe. You know what to do. Thanks for listening.